AIDs, we're into Module 13, which means we're getting toward the end, and I hope things are going well with the project and moving forward with that. And as we move toward the end, that you're starting to finish up those things. And if there's any missing work, I'm going to say this a few times, any missing work, please make sure that you get those in, because I'm in a position where if it's not in, I have to mark it with a 0, and that can have some kind of catastrophic impacts on your grade. And if you look at your grade now too, the running grade, make sure that you understand that that is only based on what has been turned in. So if the average looks like it's a little higher than it needs to be or should be, it's probably because if there's a missing assignment, it's not being included. And so if I go in and include a few zeros, then it's going to drop kind of significantly. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, really what I want to do is I want to talk about the summative assessment and the rubric that went along with it, with that assignment that you've turned in. And they've been graded, and they're presumably going to be added into your course very soon. Couple things. There's two things that I think are really important, and I want to just highlight them. One is, the setup for the creating or drafting of the assignment is really important. It's very intentional. Okay. One thing that we want to make sure that we're doing with students is communicating what it is that they need to do and why. It's pretty practical, pretty simple, but a lot of times it's not really done very well. So that's why we have a goal. That's what you want the students to know right away. What is it we're going to do? And in a sentence, you have what they're going to do. The second part is how we're going to do it, right? We want it to be very clear, simple, and communicated well. And of course, numerated directions or even bulleted directions for that matter are good. I mean, step by step by step, what should they be doing? And the reason for that is, we have, as an instructor, right, or a trainer, we have an expectation of what we want the student to give back to us, okay? And there's nothing that's worse than when you pursue an assignment and you give an assignment to a class, and it comes back with all the things that you didn't want to see, or missed all of the things that you were really aiming at. One way to mitigate that and take care of that is to lay it out very clearly. So it's very practical in that regard. The second thing is the rubric. The rubric does the same thing. It not only is it like a grading tool, right, but it also is a great communicator of directions and instructions and expectations. That's really what it's meant to be. It's one of those things. And I also mentioned that in a lecture, right? What the benefits are. And so you want to design a really good rubric. And of course, it is very practical because you can make your grading very, very efficient by having 4 clicks and then doing a thoughtful bit of feedback in the feedback section, which is what I do. I'm very proud of the fact that I give feedback on, I think, every single assignment. So if you were to add up the amount of feedback that you get from this course, it's quite a bit. That's good for you because you know what you're doing really well, what things that need to be fixed and what things that need to be improved. And so that's really good, hopefully, a really good learning experience for you to be taking away from that. Now, the other thing about the rubric that in a thoughtful set of directions does in practical matters is that it mitigates questions that students may have. So, and that, as an instructor, getting a lot of emails and getting a lot of clarification questions really cuts down on your time for teaching. And instead is kind of trying to, put out fires and things like that so that students are all clear on what they need to do. If it's clear and but each semester you're revising your directions, you're revising your rubrics, and you're keeping up to date on that, you'll find that the correspondence with students for questions and clarifications reduces significantly. I found that myself. So those are some really important things. I'm looking forward to the final presentation that you're going to do and the final course. One thing about the final presentation, I want to mention that now too. What we're looking for. The final presentation is something, of course, that's going to be done by both group members and is going to be placed in the final course. And the reason we do this is one. I really want to get a sense of what it is that you're thinking in terms of why you put this course together, why it's being done, Why I've set up the set of criteria is to follow along with that consistently. What you want to make sure you're doing is that you identify an audience, right? And presumably it's going to be an adult learner, but may not necessarily be that case. But you want to tell us who is it that you're addressing, right? And then, of course, we're going to be asking the question, is this appropriate for that particular audience? The second thing is we want you to tell your audience, or me, why is it that it's excellent? And so when you're doing your presentation, you're going to include a pitch of some sort that sells essentially your course, why it's great, why it's wonderful, and what it is that you think really gives it some value. Okay? And then the final thing is what is special, what is unique about it? What should I keep my eyes out for when I'm viewing it and when your audience is viewing it? Because you're the one that's really going to have the perfect insight as to what makes it special and why we should consume it as a learning product. Okay, so I hope you have a really good Module 13, and we'll talk to you soon as we get into the end. Bye-bye.